If you're a creator trying to build your audience, you probably realize by now, or you will pretty soon, that it's going to take you a lot longer than you actually have in order to build an audience that allows you to put food on the table. This is the thing that causes most creators to quit before they're able to actually hit traction. All the advice online that you hear will say that it takes 1, 2, even sometimes 3 years to get to the point where your audience is big enough in order to generate an income for you. And that's kind of a problem, especially for somebody like me. I have a wife and I have kids to take care of. I didn't want it to take years in order to generate an income, and honestly, I couldn't. And in this video, what I'm going to do is walk you through how you can generate income while you're building your audience and do it literally from day zero. And it's the same system that I use to build my creator business to over $2 million a year. And it all hinges on one big, big, big mistake that most creators are making because they're following a bunch of the advice that you see online. So when I started my career as a creator, I was pretty dumb about the way that I went about it. I was really naive. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought I was really smart, smarter than the market. And so what I did was I ended up just quitting my job and going full time. And I did that while I was married and had 3 kids, or 2 kids at the time. I have 3 kids now. And that is the last thing that I should have done at the time. I didn't do all the research that I should have done before I did it, but I felt the pain that everybody talks about online. It took me grinding for over 2 years trying to figure out how to build an audience, build my brand, posting consistently on typically LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, just to try to get the credibility that I needed in order to generate the revenue I needed to take care of my family, because they relied on me. It's not like my wife is working on Wall Street and had enough money to pay all the bills. If anything, she had to work even harder during this time while I was just figuring out what to do with my creator business. And the reason for that is because of the same mistake that I see creators make. After working with hundreds of creators, I see the same mistake happen over and over again. And it all has to do with the way that you are approaching audience building to begin with. So what most creators do, and I'll draw this out, is they look at their audience like this, like a pyramid, right? So with this pyramid, this is, just think of this as your entire audience as a creator, right? Whatever niche that you're going into or target that your market that you're trying to go after, this is your entire audience. But the better thing to do is to kind of break the audience into different parts, because again, a lot of creators, what you're doing is you are trying to go after everybody in here. Okay. And I don't blame you. That's exactly what you want to do. It's really hard to chunk it down, but I'm going to show you the better way to do this in a second. If you look at your audience as a whole, what you really have is like 3 different types of audiences within your audience. So you have 1 and 2. This audience here usually is about 5% of people. This audience here usually is about, let's say, 20%. And this audience down here is 75%. Now, what are these chunks? This group down here, the 75%, is the never group. These are people who will never do anything. They'll never take action on anything. They'll join email lists, sure. They will watch your YouTube videos. They'll see your social media comments. They just won't ever do anything beyond that point. And we've all known people like this. I remember when I first started my business, I had somebody that I worked with alongside, like a coworker, and we both hated working for the man, hated corporate. And I think part of that is because of the way I grew up. I grew up, I was poor, I was homeless. I always just felt like I didn't want to rely on anyone else to take care of me. I wanted to do everything on my own. So even though the place that I was working wasn't that bad, I just always felt like I had a calling to do more than what I was doing there. And some people have that and some people don't. I thought he had that too. And we would talk about it all the time. We would talk about starting something new, going full time on something else, building a business and all of that. And I remember the day came when I quit to go work on my own stuff. And I remember having a conversation with him and I said, hey man, I'm going to do this. Like, you should do this too. And he's like, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that unless I'm making, and I knew how much he made. And the number that he said was like 20% more than what he was making then. Guess what's happened to him years later? He's still working a corporate job, still doing the same thing, probably still talking to his new coworkers about how bad it is to work there and that he wants to do something else, but he just never will. That's the never audience. The second group is the later audience. These are the kind of people, and I've been in this category too, where they'll buy low ticket products, they'll take courses, they'll do something. And the reason I call them later is because they are looking for answers, but they're not necessarily in so much pain that they're willing to pay high amounts of money to do it. They're not willing to pay 1K, 2K, 3K. They're something in their life, or the time that they have, or the resources they have at their disposal. They're just not in a place right now where they're able and willing, or just need to invest high amounts of money to solve a problem. But then you have the now people. And the now people are buyers. These are the people who typically will buy high ticket products. And I'm not saying that people don't move out of one audience into another. I've been a later person and then I turned into a now person. I remember there was one time as I was building my creator business where I was digesting a bunch of stuff about fulfillment. Like, how do I take care of my clients? How do I make sure they're happy? How do I set up systems in order to help them get to their goals? And I bought courses and I bought ebooks and all these things. But at some point, my audience grew so much and my client base grew so much that I turned into a now and said, you know what? I'm tired of trying to figure this out on my own. I know I need to get this to work as soon as possible. I'm going to pay a premium amount to bring an expert in and have them help me set these systems up for me. And that's good. That's how every creator business should be. At some point, you're probably going to either have the opportunity to or want to create something that's high ticket. But here's where the problem lies with most creators, is that when you start creating content and you're posting content, you're creating content for all of these different groups of people, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's kind of how you have to do it. You need to create content that resonates with as many people in your audience as possible. And that way you can get them on your email list, you can put down your ebooks, you can get them to do the things that you need them to do in order to groom them to the point where they become your customers in the future. But the easiest way to describe the mistake here is for me to draw out the difference between that kind of creator and what I think you should do differently in order to take advantage of now knowing how this pyramid works, right? So let's look at creator A, and then in a minute we'll look at creator B. All right, creator A, what they do, and we'll just say that they're building their audience on YouTube, right? So they're on YouTube. They are on YouTube for 6 months. They post one video a week, which is 24 videos. For each of those videos, this is a high number, but I'm just going to use it to make the example easy. You get 3K views per video. And that ends up, after the end of 6 months, you have views total of, I think the number is like 75K, something like that. So now that's not exactly accurate, right? Because some people will watch the same, like if you have 24 videos, one of those people in the audience is going to watch every one of those videos, right? So it's not really 75K, but let's just keep the math simple. 75,000 unique views, okay? Now, of those 75,000 views, typically what you'll find is that about 5% of those people will turn into email subscribers. So from that 75K, that ends up being about 3,750, I think. 3,750 subs, like not YouTube subscribers, but like email subscribers. And usually what you find conversion rate for an email list to actually purchasing a product is somewhere between 1 to 5%. The numbers vary depending on what you're selling, the price point of it, all that stuff. Let's just split the difference and say 3%. 3% end up buying your, I don't know, let's say $47 product. You have a low ticket offer. And so what that ends up being, I think that comes out to about, I don't know, like 120 sales. And if you look at that revenue, it ends up coming out to, I think the number is about 5K, right? Math is not necessarily my strong suit. So you have 5K, maybe closer to 6, but let's just say 5K, right? Because you have to pay processing fees too, you know? So you've spent 6 months building an audience, and you have a pretty good audience now. I think most creators would be happy with 75,000 views after 6 months. They'd be happy with having 3,750, email subscribers. Like, that's not bad for 6 months of work. Some creators, it takes a year or 2 or 3 in order to get to that point. But you got 75,000 views, 3,750 subs, and you turned that into 120 sales at 5K. What does that math end up looking like? You basically made about $1,200 a month or so for each of those 6 months. You didn't make it all right away. You probably spent time the first 3 to 4 months posting a bunch of content, getting email subscribers, and not making hardly any money, right? So it's like compounding effect over time. Just like the video views, you're not going to get 3K views per video. It's probably going to start off with 200, and then a 4, and then a 6, and then you're just going to keep compounding it as YouTube learns about who your audience is and who you want to get in front of. So that's creator A. That's what most creators do. That's probably the path that a lot of you are on right now. Now let me show you creator B. And I'm not saying, the big thing I want you to realize here is that creator B, what they do does not overtake what creator A does. This isn't an either or scenario. I feel like a lot of times on YouTube and just gurus out there, the advice they give is it's either this or this. You have to be a creator or you have to be a business owner. And that's not true. The big question that came through my mind as I was thinking about putting this video together is, do you want to be popular or do you want to be profitable? And again, even that question is not an either or, because I think if I asked a lot of you, you would say, well, I want to be both. Well, of course, I want to be both too. It'd be great because popularity leads to profit. Profit doesn't necessarily always lead to popularity. And by popularity, I don't mean like a bunch of people like you. I just mean that people know of you, right? I think a lot of people would say both. I want to be popular and I want to be profitable. But if I told you starting off your creator journey, you can only pick one. You can either be profitable or you can be popular. You can't have both, because we know that the popularity cycle takes a long time to get to that point. If you're the kind of creator who's like, hey, I'm cool waiting a year or two to build an audience, to make enough revenue. And again, this is a very nice rose-colored glasses scenario. A lot of creators, if you've been one for a while, you know that this is not exactly how this works. But if all the things worked out, in 6 months, you would end up making 5K. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, maybe a lot more. Even if it was 10K, you're still making $1,800 a month. Not bad, but it's not anything to like write home about, right? Now, creator B, what they do is they flip this pyramid and they leverage it to say, you know what? Instead of doing what most creators do and trying to only create basically content that my entire audience wants, I'm going to work my way down this pyramid while I'm also building my audience. And so what they'll do is they'll say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go after the top 5% by building a high ticket offer. That's usually between, most creators I've worked with usually do between 2K to 5K. Anything more than that is probably a little too much and would require way more fulfillment than you probably want to do. And it's just not necessary. Even when I first started and got my business to the point where we were doing 2 million a year, I think my offer was around 4,800. I think is what we were charging for it. So you have your high ticket offer, you productize it, and I'll talk about that in a whole different video. But you want to productize it so it's not a huge amount of work. And then what you do is you create a simple funnel that gets those people into it and books calls. And I know some of you are thinking, calls, I don't want to get on calls with people. Look, if you don't want to get on calls with people who are fans of you and who potentially want to work with you, you probably shouldn't even be creator A. Because the whole point of building an audience and building a brand around whatever it is that you're good at is that you love what you do and you love who you do it for. And love is a strong word. I'm not saying like you're going to go out and have drinks with all these people, right? But I am saying that you should want to talk shop about what you do, about your business, about how it works. And if you're able to build this system, and usually when I work with creators, they build this system to the point where they book like 3 to 4 calls a week. And of those 3 to 4 calls a week, they get 1 sale a week. Let's say we split the difference and say each sale is 2K. What do they end up with in terms of revenue? They end up with 8K a month. So after 6 months, creator A is at 5K. Creator B is at also 5K because creator B is still doing what creator A is doing. They're still posting content, still posting YouTube videos. If anything, that'll help warm up these people. But they're still doing all those things that creator A is doing. But while that's going on, they have a system here that's able to generate calls with the top 5% of people. And if, real quick, if you're thinking right now to yourself, well, who's in that 5% in my audience? I want you to sit down and think, in my audience, who has the most pain? Let's look at fitness as an example because it's the easiest one to look at. You're gonna have some people like me who's just naturally has a good metabolism. I don't really feel like I'll ever need to pay somebody substantial amounts of money to do something with me, but I might get to the point where I'm not losing weight as fast as I want to, or maybe I'm overeating or something like that. But as of right now, I'm probably more in like the later category. I pay for a gym membership. I use a tool called Ladder that's like sort of an online, like done with you personal trainer type app. So it's not like directly talking to me. It's talking to a group of people who are all taking these same classes. New trainings come out every week, blah, blah, blah. But I'm probably not going to be in that group. But let's say I was a little bit overweight and I had a reunion in 6 months. And I've always struggled with working out, always struggled with dieting. But I really want to look banging when I go to that reunion, because the girlfriend that blew me off and cheated on me in high school decides to, like, I know she's going to be there, right? That did not happen, but maybe some of you here watching this, that did happen to you. Would I pay somebody $2K to create a workout plan for me, to go to the gym with me once or twice a week, or to just keep me accountable, to create the diet, create the workout routine, check in with me, all these things that I know I probably need that I haven't had before in order to hit that goal? Is it worth it for me to spend $2K to get in the best shape of my life, so when I walk in those doors at that reunion, people look at me and say, oh my gosh, look at this guy, right? Yeah, that would be worth it. Is that going to be your entire audience? No. But are 3 to 5% of your audience already sitting there right now? Yes. And those people aren't going to buy an ebook, not going to buy a course, not going to sign up for your email list. They're not going to do any of those things. They're going to go out and they're probably already actively looking for somebody who's like, I just want somebody to solve this problem for me, either for me or with me. I don't care, but I'm willing to pay for it. I don't need somebody to pull teeth. I don't need someone to hard sell me or any of that stuff. I just am looking for the right person who I can trust, who's going to help me achieve this goal that I have. And it's the same with every niche. So what you're going to do, creator B, is you create that offer. First thing that you do is you create that offer. You don't create any low ticket stuff. You don't do any of those things. You do this first. This process usually takes less than 2 weeks. Super simple. I have other videos on the channel, and you can go to path-to10k.com. I give like a full hour-long breakdown of this exact system. But you spend 2 weeks, you build this out, and you just get it to run for you while you're creating content. So that way, when you're creating content, for those people who are in the 5%, what are they going to do? Are they going to wait around for 6 months until you launch your low ticket product? Are they going to even buy the low ticket product if you launch the low ticket product right away? Like, no. They're going to go to your website, or they're going to see your funnel. They're going to opt into it. They're going to get on a call with you, and they're going to hand you $2,000 to $5,000. That's what they're going to do, because they're not looking for anything else other than that. So the biggest mistake that I see creators make if you want to make money faster is don't just stay on the creator A hamster wheel. You should instead be creator B and be creator A, like BA, right? You start off, build this funnel, and just let it sit there, and then go ahead and create content for your audience. And as you're generating content, some of these people in the 5% are going to find out who you are, either organically, or if you want, you can run some paid ads. I have other videos on the channel that talk about doing that. But one way or the other, they're going to find out about who you are, and they're going to say, you know what, I just want to skip to the end here. I trust this person. I like this person, or they're offering something that I need right now, and I haven't seen anybody else offer this. I'm going to go ahead and book a call with them and chat. And there's so much more trust you can build over a 30-minute simple phone call than you can over 6 months worth of YouTube videos. I can promise you that. Will people be warmer if they watch 6 months of your videos and then hop on a call? Absolutely. But you can still sell them over a 30-minute call. And I know that because I've seen it for myself, and I've seen it consistently for tons of other creators who've gone from 0 to 10, 15, 20K months within 2 to 3 months of working with me and just doing what I tell them to do. So I know now some of you are probably thinking like, okay, well, should I start with the low ticket offer? Should I build a high ticket offer first? Obviously, I've given you part of the answer here in this video, but if you want to have like a full walkthrough of what I feel like you should do in terms of like your offer stack, which offer should you build first? How do you build it? What's the right order depending on the type of creator you are, the type of audience you have, and what your goals are? I have this video that hopefully is popping up on the feed. If it's not, it'll be published soon. That walks through the difference between low ticket, high ticket, what you should set your price points at, and which one's going to be better for you to build your audience off of, depending on what your short-term and your long-term goals are as a creator.